2:47 a.m., the ground trembled, but no one saw it coming. No alarms, no jet noise, no trace in the sky, just silence, and then sudden destruction. Buried deep inside the Anti-Lebanon mountains, Hezbollah's most heavily fortified underground command center vanished in an instant. Not from a missile blast on the surface, but from something far more precise. A U.S. bomber had released a weapon built to do one thing: dig deep and destroy from the inside out. This wasn't a firefight. It wasn't even a battle. It was a message. In a world where enemies hide in bunkers, tunnels, and silence, America found a new way to strike back, quietly, quickly, and with finality. Today, we're taking you inside Operation Black Echo, the classified mission that rewrote the rules of modern warfare and turned a mountain fortress into a cratered tomb. Because in today's battles, it's not about how big you go, it's about how cleanly you end it. Subscribe now and buckle up. Let's dive in. It all began with a whisper. A vague encrypted fragment from a dark corner of the web. Then came the satellite snapshots, camouflaged crates being moved in the Bekaa Valley under the cover of night. Night after night, infrared drones picked up truck convoys disappearing into a remote mountainside compound. But this wasn't your average weapons cache. Something felt different. This felt personal. June 2nd, 2025. U.S. Central Command confirms the unthinkable. Hezbollah is prepping a swarm of next-gen kamikaze drones, each loaded with high-explosive payloads and aimed at American oil tankers sailing the eastern Mediterranean. But these weren't outdated Iranian knockoffs. They were smaller, faster, and jam-resistant. They were cutting-edge, and they were being controlled from a bunker buried nearly 300 feet deep in solid mountain rock. That bunker had one purpose: to direct the first wave of a surprise attack. But the U.S. had a surprise of its own. This wasn't a drill. Intel reports were clear. Hezbollah was prepping for launch within 10 days. The targets? Multiple U.S.-flagged oil tankers set to sail past Cyprus and Crete. If even one got hit, it wouldn't just throw global energy supply into chaos. It would send a shock wave through America's credibility in the region. Washington had to move, fast. By June 4th, the National Security Council was behind closed doors. The mood? Tense. CIA analysts didn't sugarcoat it. This isn't just another weapons depot, one officer said. This is a nerve center, command control, and drone ops, buried under a mountain. A retired general, quiet until that moment, spoke up. We either bring that mountain down, or Hezbollah buries our presence in the Mediterranean. Everyone at the table knew there was no room for hesitation. Sending in ground forces? Out of the question. The terrain was brutal, the exit plan uncertain, and every inch of that tunnel network was likely booby-trapped. A traditional airstrike wouldn't cut it either. The bunker had been reinforced with Soviet-style engineering, layers of concrete, rock insulation, and blast-dampening designs. It was built to survive war, so America needed something more, something smarter, sharper, final. A strike so exact, so stealthy, and so unstoppable that no one inside that mountain ever walked out. And it had to happen without warning. No boots on the ground, no political fallout, just a clean operation and a message delivered, loud and clear. That same night, the order went out. Launch the B-2 Spirit. The mission was codenamed Operation Black Echo, a reference to the deafening silence that would follow when the mountain caved in. No headlines, no chest beating, just one bomber, one bomb, one shot to end it. And what came next would rewrite the playbook for modern warfare. The United States didn't need a drumroll. No press release, no warning. Just one quiet move that would reach through stone, cross borders, and erase a threat before it ever saw daylight. No fireworks, just the hush of stealth bombers overhead and the punch of a bunker buster hitting home. And in that silence, the battlefield shifted. From above, it looked like nothing, just a stretch of rocky gray hills near the Syrian-Lebanese border. Sparse trees, dusty trails, a forgotten corner not even most maps bothered to label. But beneath that quiet mountain, hidden in the rugged spine of the Anti-Lebanon range, was something else entirely. one of Hezbollah's most heavily fortified command centers. In US intel files, it had only one name, Site 72 Alpha. Surveillance had been on and off for more than a year, but recently the puzzle pieces started falling into place. Satellites picked up tiny shifts in terrain, barely visible. Camouflaged air vents disguised as boulders. Strange heat signatures lighting up on infrared, even in freezing night temps. Faint electromagnetic bursts that matched known drone control signals. Whatever was down there, it wasn't a weapons dump. It was precision built. The facility had Soviet engineering in its DNA, Cold War design playbooks paired with Iranian cash and manpower. Triple reinforced concrete walls, shock-absorbing blast doors, 3 separate tunnels all sealed behind sliding steel gates and carved deep into the mountain's eastern face, and redundant power lines in case of a strike. Inside, analysts estimated at least 30 Hezbollah personnel, not just fighters, but elite drone experts, intelligence operatives, and hardened guards. It wasn't a hideout. It was a high-tech command center built to coordinate mass drone swarm attacks. Dozens of Shahed-class drones, pre-programmed with GPS kill zones, sat quietly beneath layers of stone, waiting for launch orders. And behind them, a deep armored munitions chamber, buried more than 200 feet into the mountain. This was Site 72 Alpha, and it wasn't just dangerous, it was bold. What made this bunker a real threat wasn't just what it stored, it was the arrogance behind it. Hezbollah believed this place was off limits, invisible to Israeli jets, out of reach for any artillery, and supposedly immune even to bunker-busting bombs. They thought it was untouchable, a silent, sleeping monster under the ground, their crown jewel, a threat wrapped in stone, daring anyone to try and hit it. But they miscalculated, because while Hezbollah was hiding, America was studying. Not just maps, but 3D terrain scans. Not just blueprints, but airflow modeling through the tunnels. Not just guesses, but satellite data fed into AI to simulate collapse zones, shock patterns, and pressure waves. By the time the final strike plan was approved, Site 72 Alpha wasn't a mystery anymore. It was a blueprint with a demolition date. And this wasn't going to be a warning shot. This was going to be a lesson. The same mountain they trusted would soon become their tomb. If the US had waited, do you really think Hezbollah wouldn't have struck first? Or did we make the right call by striking first? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay with us, because what happened next was unlike anything we've seen in decades. At exactly 2:41 a.m. local time, eastern Lebanon was dead quiet. No sirens, no engines. Just the still desert air and a sky full of stars. Unaware that something lethal was already falling from above, 35,000 feet up, slicing through clouds unseen, a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber glided silently like a shadow. No radar picked it up, no warning sounded. It carried just one weapon, one target, one mission. That bomb, the GBU-72B Hell Spike, America's most advanced bunker buster. 5,000 pounds of hardened steel, equipped with GPS precision, laser correction, and AI-enhanced terrain mapping. It wasn't built to make noise. It was built to go deep, deeper than any bomb before it, past concrete, past steel, past earth, and then rip the fortress apart from the inside out. At exactly 2:47 a.m., the bomb dropped. No sound, no scream, just a 5,000-pound shadow vanishing into the dark, cold air, like a ghost falling straight from the sky. Below, the mountain slept, but within seconds that sleep became obliteration. The GBU-72 smashed into the eastern face of the mountain, plowing through nearly 280 feet of layered limestone and reinforced concrete like it was paper. Onboard sensors made microsecond adjustments, tracking depth in real time. It didn't detonate on impact. It waited. 3 seconds, 4, 5, then boom. But not the kind you hear. This was a heartbeat of thunder pulsing deep inside the mountain's chest. Cave mouths blew open, spewing clouds of pulverized dust. Shockwaves slammed through the tunnels. Surveillance drones caught it all, vents collapsing inward, entire shafts folding like lungs imploding. There was no fireball, no bright flash, just pure internal destruction. A pressurized death rolling through the fortress like a wave. Shattering walls, snapping beams, ripping oxygen from the air. Then came the chain reaction. The munitions chamber detonated next. A delayed, violent second blast that shifted the very mountain. Rocks split, steel twisted, concrete buckled. Inside, no alarms, no escape routes, no time to breathe. The earth didn't just collapse, it swallowed them whole. Aboard the USS George H.W. Bush, floating silently in the eastern Mediterranean, Mission Control watched the seismic ripples hit underwater sensors. The feed confirmed what the silence already knew. No celebration, no high fives, just two words blinking on the screen. Objective neutralized. For Hezbollah's most secure command center, there was no counterattack, no distress call, no backup on the way. Every radio went silent. Site 72 Alpha didn't just take a hit. It was wiped off the map, not bombed, not shelled, erased. And for the US, it was living proof of a revived military mindset. Don't wait, don't warn, don't miss. One bomber, one bomb, one threat, gone. The mountain had collapsed, along with the myth that Hezbollah's strongest bunker couldn't be touched. But deep inside that rubble, something survived. Beneath the broken stone and mangled steel of Site 72 Alpha, an emergency tunnel, likely an escape shaft, had somehow held together. And from its eastern end, buried under scorched cedar trees, movement stirred. 8 Hezbollah fighters crawled into the icy night air. Dust-covered, bruised, limping. One clutched a bleeding arm, another dragged what looked like a satellite case. They still carried rifles, still believed there was a way out. They had survived the strike, but survival wasn't escape. And escape didn't mean they were safe. 20 minutes before the mountain caved in, a satellite was already watching. Orbiting low above Earth, its infrared sensors had quietly marked every heat signature inside the bunker. While the bomb was still slicing through the night sky, that satellite kept scanning. And when the explosion hit, it saw something shift. 8 heat signatures pulled away, moving uphill, fast. They were trying to run. At 3:04 a.m., those exact coordinates were pinged to an Israeli F-35 Air stealth jet, cruising unseen 40,000 feet above the Golan Heights. Its sensors locked on. The movements were jittery, low to the ground. Not animals, not civilians. Armed men in retreat. Seconds later, another Adir slipped into formation. No radio calls, no discussion. They had a visual, they had confirmation, and they had a clear shot. From 18,000 feet, the jets released 2 GBU 39B small-diameter bombs. Sleek, quiet, and deadly precise. The weapons synced mid-air with laser tags from the aircraft's shared sensor net. They adjusted for wind, fine-tuned their angle. This wasn't a guess. This was math. Down below, the Hezbollah fighters had no idea. They thought they'd made it, that maybe the strike was over, that maybe the mountain just gave way, and they'd somehow slipped through. They thought they were getting out, but war had evolved. Death didn't have to look you in the eye anymore. The bombs hit the ridge like a silent hammer. No flames, no spectacle, just a hard burst of air, stone, and dust. Then, stillness. When the debris cleared, nothing moved. Thermal scans went flat. 8 signatures gone. No chain reaction. No collateral damage. Just precise clinical elimination. Back in the command center, the screen quietly updated. Strike complete. One analyst murmured, "They thought they had a way out." Another replied, "Not anymore." This wasn't just a follow-up strike. It was a warning to the future, a message written in the steel and silence. There's no such thing as safe anymore. Not from the sky, not from stealth bombers, and definitely not from weapons that think faster than any human ever could. Hezbollah thought they were protected. They built their command center under a mountain, wrapped in rock, sealed in concrete, buried in shadows. They thought the mountain made them untouchable. They were wrong, because what happened that night in the Anti-Lebanon mountains wasn't just a mission, it was a turning point. And the turning point had a name, GBU-72B, codename Hellspike. This wasn't just a bomb. It was a revolution in warfare. 5,000 pounds of raw technology designed not to blow up on impact, but to go deeper, think smarter, and destroy what hides. You see, Hellspike isn't like old-school bunker busters. It's not about brute force. It's about surgical destruction. Its body is built from ultra-reinforced alloys, tough enough to slam into bedrock at speeds over Mach 1. But the real killer isn't the metal. It's the mind. Hellspike comes with a smart delay fuse, programmable, adaptive, and terrain-aware. It reads the rock in real time, measures the depth, calculates the angles, and decides when to strike. Not when it hits, but when it finds the perfect kill zone. That night, it waited until it was nearly 300 feet underground. Then, without warning, it released its payload. Over 1,000 pounds of precision explosives detonated not above the bunker, but inside its core, sending a pressure wave so violent it didn't just destroy walls, it collapsed the mountain from the inside out. No fireball, no crater, no warning shot. Just pure, focused annihilation, delivered in silence. Old weapons would have made a mess on the surface. The GBU-72 made sure there was no surface left to run to, because modern war doesn't shout, it whispers, and when it hits, it's already over. But here's the thing, this bomb doesn't work alone. Before it ever leaves the bay, it's already locked in with a digital brain fed by high-res satellite imaging, synthetic aperture radar, and 3D maps of the Earth's crust. It's not guessing, it's calculating, precisely, ruthlessly. And when you pair that kind of precision with a stealth platform like the B-2 Spirit, you don't get a bomb, you get a ghost. One that slips in undetected, strikes without warning, and disappears, leaving behind nothing but ruin. But the most powerful part of the GBU-72 isn't just what it hits, it's the message it sends. This bomb doesn't just crush concrete or punch through stone. It destroys the myth of safety. It tells the world, go ahead, dig deeper, build your bunker, hide in the shadows of the earth. We will still find you, and we will still reach you. That night in the mountains of eastern Lebanon, the US didn't just take out a target. It introduced a new chapter in modern combat, where tech trumps troop count and speed replaces scale. One aircraft, one weapon, one strike, mission complete. To Hezbollah, the GBU-72 wasn't just a bomb, it was a nightmare wrapped in metal. To the Pentagon, it was proof. Proof that precision can replace invasion. And to anyone else watching from the comfort of their concrete bunkers, it was a loud, silent warning. No mountain is deep enough. No fortress is strong enough. We're coming, and we already know exactly where to hit. When the dust finally settled over the Anti-Lebanon range, there were no news cameras, no troops waving flags, no victory speeches, just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any explosion ever could. America had just flipped the script on modern warfare. One bomber, one bomb, one hit. No one claimed credit. No radar ever saw it coming. And then, silence. Hezbollah's command lines went dead. Intelligence circles across the region froze, stunned. Their most fortified stronghold, buried deep beneath rock and steel, designed to be untouchable, was now rubble. Not damaged, gone. And nobody saw it happen. But this wasn't a show of force. It wasn't revenge. It was denial. Denying safe ground. Denying future threats. Denying the old belief that deep enough means safe enough. For years, terror groups trusted the earth itself. They went underground, hid in tunnels, carved bunkers into mountains. They believed concrete and secrecy could shield them from America's reach. Maybe they were right, once. But those days are over. This strike wasn't just about taking out a bunker. It was a live demonstration of a doctrine built on silence, speed, and science, not sheer force. A doctrine shaped by AI, satellite intelligence, and precision weaponry. A doctrine where the US doesn't need armies on the ground to win. This is the new face of American power. Fast, quiet, surgical. You don't need a fleet offshore to make a threat feel real. You don't need dogfights or missile barrages to hit the heart of the enemy. And bombs, they don't just hit targets anymore. They hit assumptions. They reach where you swore no one could. Hezbollah learned that lesson the hard way, and the rest of the world, they were watching. The message is crystal clear. To enemies hiding in caves, tunnels, or relying on far-flung allies, we're already watching. To those who believe distance makes them safe, we've already closed the gap. And to anyone building the next Site 72 Alpha, whether it's tucked away in Yemen's hills, buried in Africa's jungles, or hidden deep in Iran's deserts, hear this loud and clear. You don't have time to run, you don't have anywhere left to hide, and you'll never hear the strike that ends it all coming. In the end, the mountain didn't fall because America unleashed more firepower. It fell because America used smarter force. Force that moves silently, thinks faster than any human, and acts decisively the moment danger is confirmed. No waiting, no second guessing. This is the future of American warfare. Not loud, not overwhelming, but relentless, invisible, absolute. The mountain fell. The threat was erased. But the message? It still echoes loud and clear. We can reach you, anywhere, anytime, without warning. This mission wasn't just a display of power. It was a blueprint for 21st century warfare. A demonstration of how technology, timing, and precision have reshaped national defense. For those paying attention, whether in military classrooms or sitting at home, the lesson goes deeper. The battlefield isn't limited by borders anymore. It's defined by intelligence, timing, and surgical strikes. This success wasn't about brute force, it was about foresight, about knowing exactly when to strike, where to hit, and how to protect American lives with surgical precision. It reminds us that the future of national security isn't just about strength, it's about smart innovation, about the quiet power of thinking faster, striking smarter, and never giving the enemy a second chance. For students, analysts, and everyday citizens alike, this mission shines a light on a whole new era of warfare. One where data, stealth, and smart strategy beat brute force every time. It challenges us to rethink what real power looks like in today's world. For those who've served, or whose families have, this operation hits home. It's a powerful reminder why we have to protect, fund, and understand our technological edge. Because when enemies hide deep beneath mountains, America needs to be ready to strike. Fast, unseen, and without fail. In that silence, we find clarity. And in that strike, we find a lesson. It's not about how big your army is, but how sharp your decisions are. One strike, one mountain, one moment that rewrote the rules of modern warfare. The mission's success wasn't about loud explosions. It was about precision, quiet effectiveness, and zero American casualties. It sent a clear message to our enemies. You can hide deep, but we can hit deeper. As technology keeps pushing forward, so must our understanding of what truly keeps America safe. It's not just raw firepower, it's foresight, it's readiness, it's having the guts to act before the threat ever gets close. If this video opened your eyes to how wars are really fought today, we want to hear from you. Where do you think the next threat is hiding, and how should we respond? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.